Kia ora. I'm in the central plateau of the North Island, Te Ika a Maui in New Zealand, or Aotearoa, or if you're in the Law Council, Lands, Air and Water, Te Moana Nui a Kiwa. And that behind me, over there, is Mount Narahui, which is a volcano, a condensite volcano. I believe it's condensite, cone-shaped volcano. And it's quite cold up here. We're at altitude about almost 800 meters above sea level. It's quite cold, and I'm just parked up having a little rest as I'm driving north to a festival called Resolution Festival for New Year's. 2022 is almost at an end, and for me 2022 was a year of projections. Not me personally, but me being on the receiving end of so many people's projections this year. It's been a real tough year energetically and spiritually, mentally, physically for a lot of people. I'm quite exhausted, to be honest. This year has really tired me out, and a lot of people that I've been hanging out with and spending time with have been on the end of projections and have been projecting as well into their lives unconsciously, and most of the time unconsciously, sometimes consciously, which is not cool really. But what does that say about me? What does it say about me that I'm on the receiving end of all these projections? Who am I, and why am I bringing that into my life? These are questions I ask myself in regards to my experience, of this year, because it's been a real tough year for me too. I mean, I have met some incredible people this year and had some amazing experiences, some enormous shifts in conscious evolution and understanding. But at the same time, I've also been on the end of some awful behavior from people. But I ask myself that question once again: who am I, and why am I experiencing this? Why am I experiencing what I experienced? Why have I experienced these projections from people? To answer that question, I really don't know. So maybe I'll find out in 2023 why I experienced this, why I was on the end of projections from people. One thing I have to say about the situation, though, is that we have to be more self-aware of how we choose to conduct ourselves when we have this. If we have the self-awareness to know that we have a trauma in our lives that we can project onto people, we have to be more aware. If we can be self-aware in the present moment, to not do this, not to project at anybody, not to project our trauma onto anyone else. If we feel as though our trauma is being triggered, or being triggered in some way, if we are consciously aware enough to be able to stop ourselves from projecting our trauma onto somebody else, that's a big step to healing our trauma. It really is a big step. And what I mean by that, in my experience, is if I'm aware of someone triggering me, and that behavior that's triggering me is giving me an opportunity to go, right, I feel this way right now, and be vulnerable in that moment and say, hey, listen to the person that I'm with, or the people that I'm with at the time, or the experience I'm having at the time. Say, hey, listen to myself first of all. You're having this experience where you're feeling this situation's triggering you, and by being triggered in this way, you're starting to feel this way. Well, I won't suppress how I feel, but I'll deeply feel into that experience, and when I feel it, whatever that feeling is. An example might be someone might say something to me in regards to a situation, and I feel triggered by that situation, and it takes me to a place where I feel unsafe or feel unworthy, or I have a really situation where I have a terrible self-esteem moment. I feel very low and very unloved in that moment, and then I have to stop myself and go, this is how I feel right now. And often this is just my experience. This is not who I am. This is an experience I'm having because the nature of what I was conditioned to feel due to the nature of this trigger. It's not who I am. Who I am is spirit. What I am is eternal consciousness. This is my experience, and this triggering moment for me, it's triggered me to have this feeling or this emotion, is simply that. It's a trigger. Like someone pushing a button on a computer, and that computer goes into a software program. And that software program plays itself out. But that's not who we are. That's just an experience of what we are experiencing in that moment. The software program has been pushed in regards to enter, and then we have this emotional experience where we have all this physical experience. We're triggered to have the sensations or thoughts or feelings. And when that happens, we have two choices. One, to observe them, and generally when you observe them, they tend to dissipate and flow away. Or two, to go into them and feel them deeply. And often when you do that, you can spiral down or lift up. You know, it depends on what the experience is. But for me, in 2022, it's been one of those years where I've been on the receiving end of some really terrible behavior from people. And even though some of it might have triggered me in a way that's allowed me to become more observant of my own feelings and my own emotions, it hasn't been pleasant at all to be on this receiving end of these experiences. But for me, at the same time, it's been a huge learning curve for also being able to open up my heart enough to let people be who they choose to be, but set some very strong boundaries with people who choose to act in a way that isn't loving towards me and towards themselves, naturally, of course. But not in a hard and fast kind of like fuck you kind of way, but in a way that goes like, hey man, I dig it, I accept where you are in your life and where you're at, but I'm not going to, this behavior I will not tolerate from you or from me, and therefore I will take a step back and I will give you the space to do what you need to do, to move through your experience whenever you choose to, and my love will be with you. My love will be with you 110%. This is a short video today, but thank you for watching. I truly appreciate it. The wind stopped a little bit, the sun's come out. I'm feeling a little bit warmer. I'm also quite tired. I'm going to have a little kick in my van, I think, before I drive up to the Kaimanawa wall. I'll do a video up there as well. Thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. Mā te wa. See you again soon.